Hello and welcome to another episode of Mike Financial Education. Today we're going to talk about the 20-second rule and how to turn your laziness into a tool that will help you succeed. First, before we begin, we need to understand what laziness actually is. Laziness is a trait that characterizes all human beings, and its original purpose is to save as much time and energy as possible. In the past, humans couldn't afford to waste calories, so they developed a mechanism designed to make them act as little as possible on actions considered negligible. From our brain's perspective, essentially everything except reproduction and survival is considered negligible. To understand this matter more clearly, we'll use an example. Let's say we have a person who lived 3,500 years ago in Africa. He depends on hunting to survive, and every bit of energy in his body could be the difference between life and death. If that person sees a lion running toward him, no matter how much he's considered lazy, he will simply run away 100% of the time. Why? Because his body is screaming immediate danger to survival. Therefore, in this case, there's no room for the laziness trait to interfere. On the other hand, if that same person thinks about performing an action that the body doesn't consider important for survival, such as going for a walk, there's a chance that laziness will interfere and actually prevent him from wasting calories and time for something that the body considers a luxury. We can learn from our example that laziness is a trait that can be good. But in our case, and in the modern world, it's usually bad most of the time. Why is it bad? Because today, in the modern world, the need to save calories to survive is a need that almost doesn't exist, and mortality from hunger has almost been eliminated from the world. The problem is that the world has changed, but the laziness trait has remained exactly the same. Laziness still continues to prevent us from doing actions that are considered luxuries from the brain's perspective. The problem is that the actions it considers luxuries are what sustains us and advances us in today's world. The actions our brain considers unimportant could be, for example, going to work, paying bills, exercising, and many other important things. So how can we use our laziness to succeed in life? This is where the 20-second rule comes in. This rule says the following: our body will naturally prefer to do as few actions as possible to save as much energy as possible. We can use the laziness mechanism to encourage ourselves to do certain things by making them accessible, and to stop doing certain things by creating difficulty in accessing them and their availability. We'll start with an example that shows us how to start doing something with the help of laziness. Let's take David as an example. David wants to start working out at the gym, but he can't maintain consistency. This is David's daily routine. David gets up from bed, brushes his teeth, and then goes to the closet to put on his workout clothes. Then he goes to the closet in the living room and takes out the chip he uses to enter the gym. After that, he goes to the kitchen, fills his water bottle, drinks a glass of water, and leaves through the front door. The moment he leaves the house, he puts on his sports shoes and gets into the car. After about a 30-minute drive, he arrives at the gym and starts working out. If you pay attention to the story, you can understand that David needs to do a lot of action to start working out at the gym. He walks around the house and wastes a lot of time and energy, and here lies his mistake. The more actions David needs to do to get to the gym, the greater the chance that laziness will interfere. So how can David use laziness to beat himself? If David manages to create a situation where he does minimum actions to get to the gym, his chance of persisting and not being lazy will be much higher. If, for example, David places all the different items related to the gym in one place, he'll save himself a lot of different actions. Imagine a situation where the clothes, shoes, chip, and water bottle are ready every morning next to his bed. David's chance of being lazy in such a situation would be lower. Remember, if you want to persist in something, make the actions leading to it as accessible and economical in time and energy as possible. Now we'll understand the other side of the coin, meaning how we can use this phenomenon to stop doing things we want to stop doing. To stop doing things, we need to do more actions and waste more energy to start doing them. If, for example, David decides he wants to stop watching TV, he simply needs to make turning on the TV require a lot of effort. If, for example, David takes the remote, removes the batteries from it, and puts the remote in a high closet, and then places the batteries in a place far from the living room, there's a high chance that David's TV watching hours will decrease significantly. Why? Because now he needs to invest more time and energy to turn on the TV. We're approaching the end of the video, but we still haven't answered one important question. Why is the rule called the 20-second rule in the first place? The rule is called the 20-second rule because for most people, anything that causes them to shorten by 20 seconds to reach a certain action significantly increases the chance they'll do it. And on the other hand, any time extension of 20 seconds to reach a certain action significantly decreases the chance they'll do it. In conclusion, if you know how to use your laziness to do things that are important to you, you'll advance very quickly toward your life goals. And on the other side of the coin, if you know how to use laziness to stop doing things you don't want in your life, you'll become unbeatable. I really hope you enjoyed this episode, and of course, we'll meet again in future episodes.